Hi, this is Dr. Kimberley Linert, and you're listening to the Incredible Life Creator Podcast Show, the place to hear stories from global influencers, trailblazers, cutting edge visionaries, and empowered entrepreneurs from all walks of life who are examples of living and leading an incredible life, where living life on purpose and leaving a legacy is their sole focus. As you listen to these episodes, you will be inspired to leverage their teachings and experience to discover your passion and purpose and to create the incredible life of your dreams. Feel free to subscribe, share, and listen often. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification bell so you are notified whenever a new episode is released. At the end of today's podcast, I will outline how you can get the best value from each podcast episode. More on that later. Today, I am privileged to introduce Audrey Levy. Hi, Audrey.
Hey, Dr. Audrey Levy. Doctor, I worked hard for that doctorate.
Oh, Dr. Audrey Levy. Oh, I better put that in my notes here. All right.
Yes.
Dr. Levy. And Dr. Levy is a licensed marriage and family therapist and earned her doctorate in psychology. She also pioneered a journal writing method to help herself and others heal old wounds, finding hope, recovery, and redemption. Audrey has written one novel, a dozen screenplays, multiple novellas, 2 teleplays, and 1 stage play so far. Audrey wrote, produced, and was the lead actress in her 15-minute short, War and Family. 2 of Audrey's screenplays made it to the finals of Mr. Steven Spielberg's Chesterfield Writing Competition, and a 3rd screenplay made it to the finals of Mr. Redford's Sundance Competition. She currently lives on a houseboat in California. Well, welcome to the podcast. And why don't
Thank you so much for having me.
Why don't you start out by telling us a little bit about you and how you got to be doing what you're doing now?
Okay, so basically I started writing when I was like 6. We had our spelling words every week. We had to write each word 10 times, and we had to create a story out of the spelling words that were given that week. And I would read the story to my father sitting in his lap, and he was caressing me, and the way a dad would with a 6-year-old blonde, blue-eyed little girl. And he told me I would be very famous one day and be a great writer. So writing was always something that I did all through my life. I kept journals, I wrote short stories, that kind of thing. And I ended up getting, when I got older, I got a subscription to the Writer magazine. And when I watched movies, I always paid attention to who wrote the screenplay. And when I came to California that first year and I watched the Oscars, there was the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay. And I thought, I want that. So I'm still working on it. And it's been 40 plus years. I came out here September 10th, 1975. And I wrote a dozen screenplays, like you said. And so far, none of them have been picked up. So I'm still working on that. Anybody who's listening, if you hook me up with a producer, you get a 10% agent's fee. So if you like any of my books at all, all of them have scripts behind them. And I'm looking for a producer who's interested in picking any one of the projects up. And Catherine Ross, remember from Butch Cassidy and from The Graduate, Catherine Ross is interested in the project. So the overall project that's now is The Adventures of the Angel Olio. And it's actually a series. Turned out to be a series. I didn't plan it that way. But it turns out that because my scripts are semi-autobiographical, as long as I use the same name throughout for my character, I can make her grow through the screenplays. And it starts out with Noelle's Ark, where she's lost her husband. She's a widow, And she starts writing to him and pretending that he's writing back to her. And in the book, she believes it. And in the book, he really is an angel. The original title was Angel in My Pocket. So Noelle is now able to reach him through writing, and takes her on a total adventure where she ends up writing a book about their adventures together. And she's introduced to that idea by the angel Olio. And that's the first book. And then from there, Dr. Lawyer Indian Chief is about a woman who has a near-death experience after being shot in the brain, and she's in her ambulance. And the angel Olio comes to visit her and takes her for a near-death experience so that she doesn't end up dying. Got a happy ending. And then in book 3, Safe Harbor, Noelle meets a new love. And she, like you mentioned prior to the show, going to a restaurant where your fiance used to like. So she really likes sailing. Noelle really likes sailing, and she was introduced to it by her husband. So she finds a new love in book 3. It's called Safe Harbor, and they sail away into the sunset. And then the 4th book in the series is called Adventure, Love, and Pirates. And that's exactly what it says. The angel Olio shows up in the dreams of an 80-year-old woman and is told to sail around the world before she dies. So she convinces her granddaughter to go with her. And they have adventure, and the granddaughter falls in love, and then they meet pirates. So it gives me goosebumps. So then, and the 5th one is just an experiential journal. I don't want to say just, it is an experiential journal where you can write to your own angels, call them the people that you love that have passed, and then pretend to write back to yourself. And what you'll find is it's very poignant, it's very cathartic, and you cry, you laugh, and you can't believe that that came out of your hand, because it sounds so much like the person that passed. And it's quite a remarkable process. It's very therapeutic, and it helps people who are grieving. So, and it helped me. I mean, you know, I went from I was having nightmares and I was suicidal. And the way the first book came about was I was seeing a therapist who specialized in EMDR. That's the eye movement desensitization reprocessing. And it's used for post-traumatic patients, soldiers, people who've survived, you know, terrific trauma. So he suggested that I start writing about my experiences. He was the first one. And I said, well, I've got the dozen screenplays and I already wrote a bunch. And he said, well, maybe you could write some more and you could maybe connect your books. And it was true. I was able with the angel Olio to connect all my books. And so now I have this mission to teach people how to write to their loved ones who have passed and pretend to write back. And it's a very nourishing, therapeutic, cathartic process. And the angel Olio, I don't know if she's real or not, but she sure feels real to me. I get goosebumps whenever I talk about her. So what I think is that in my truth, you know how they say to tell your story, tell your truth. So my truth is that the angels exist. My truth is that energy can't be destroyed. And so I've got such goosebumps. And so when someone passes, the essence of who they are is absorbed back into this huge sponge that's like the clouds in the sky, and it's the air all around us, and it's everywhere. And I have goosebumps and I'm blushing just talking about it, which makes me feel like it's true for me. For me, it's true because this feels great. If I could feel like this all day long, I'd be a happy camper. So I want to teach people how to feel like this. especially grieving people, because you turn grief to joy, and you want to live again instead of dying because you miss them so much. Gives you something to live for. And so anyway, that's how I came to be. Oh, so I guess I should say that the reason I had a really bad decade in which both of my parents passed away within 22 months of each other. My 23-year-old niece died. My significant other of 20 years died. And my dog died. And so I was really messed up. I had nothing to live for, no one to hang around with, and friends just don't cut it in that kind of a place. So that's what made me go for the therapy, because I was having really bad nightmares. I would wake up screaming help and call 911 and screaming it, like yelling it, like help, help, I need help. And so I went for help. And I went to somebody who dealt with trauma. And he's the one who suggested that I write that first book. And then from there on, it just sort of unfolded. In 2019, I published 8 books.
Wow.
I published the books themselves and a Spanish version. I had them translated into Spanish, the first 3. So I was very busy in 2019.
Yeah.
And then COVID happened. And so I've been, shut down like everybody else. And but now I find myself in the position of having all these books. I'm looking at them because they're sitting right here next to me. And they're all bestsellers. I found a publicity person who understands Amazon and helped me to turn them all into bestsellers. So I'm very proud of that fact. And so now I want to tell everybody about it, which is why I wanted to come on your podcast.
Yeah. And, thank you for doing that. And thank you for being willing to be so transparent and share. We were talking before the podcast, I lost my fiance back in 2016. And I have to say, it probably took me a good 2 years to get back to being my normal self, where I actually wanted to interact with people. I mean, I would go to work like normal, but it was almost like in a robotic form, if that makes sense. I was there,
Yes.
I was doing my work, but there were people reaching out to me. And I think all the people who reached out to me during that time, and I would never call them back. And it's not that I didn't care. It's not that I didn't appreciate them. I just didn't have a reach. I felt like I couldn't even reach out. And that was just from losing one person. And you lost your mom, your dad, your niece, your dog, your significant other, all in a very short period of time. And
Yes.
to me, it's just a wonder that you are here on this podcast sharing this story, because grief can be really, really powerful. And, I actually, believe it or not, after my fiance died, I actually published my book right after that, Visualizing Happiness in Every Area of Your Life. So here I am grieving, and I'm publishing a book on happiness.
It probably saved you.
Well, yeah, a lot of it saved me. And, a lot of the things I was telling people to do in the book, I was doing. And, one of those things is looking back at memories, or when I really started to miss him. His name was Glenn. When I really started to miss him, and the times that I missed him the most was when I picked up the phone and I wanted to call him, but I couldn't call him because he wasn't there. There was nobody to call. So I think that a lot of people experience that. So, but Audrey, are you still there with me?
I am now. Yes, I
Okay,
lost you
good.
for a little bit.
So I was just saying that, one of the things that caused me to miss my fiance the most after he died is that those times when you go to pick up the phone to call that person, whether it be your mom, your dad, your husband, wife, daughter, son, you go to pick up the phone to call them because you think, I want to talk to them, and realize that there's not going to be anybody else at the end of the line.
It's true. One of the hardest things for me to do, and I don't do it, is to delete someone from my phone.
My grandmother died 3 years ago, and she's still in my phone under my favorites.
Yeah.
I can't delete her. She's
Right.
still there.
Right. Exactly. I can't delete her. That just the thought of that, can't do it.
Mhm.
And the phone allows us to do as many as we want. So what the hell?
Right. Yeah. It's just really hard. And everybody has a different, background or faith. My faith is I'm a Christian. So I don't believe that we die and we're just like disappear. Like you said, I don't believe we just disappear. I believe that we change form.
Right.
We change form.
Right.
And we're still here. We're just not in a body. We just don't have
Right.
our bodies anymore. Our bodies have worn out or gotten broken or something happened.
And
but
so we
still
become
here.
that's right. And we become non-physical beings. That's what it's called, non-physical beings. But we're still beings,
Right.
just non-physical beings.
Right. And, I don't know about other people, but, I still talk to Glenn and I still talk to my grandmother sometimes. And I believe they hear me. I don't know if they do, but it doesn't matter.
Right. Exactly. Because it doesn't hurt anyone. It doesn't hurt anyone. And it feels really, really good.
Exactly.
Feels really, really good.
Exactly. So, tell me how you're working with your patients or with people with this letter writing and how that actually works.
Well, it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just, you just sit down and you write a letter. You just write to the person, dear Glenn, I really miss you. This is what I did today. I just wanted to tell you. And then the response would be, hi, Kimberly, I really miss you too.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm so glad that you're writing to me today. I really miss you a lot. And when you write to me, I can talk to you. And you see, when I say that, I have goosebumps. So it feels to me like whatever essence Glenn is, I can hear something that's making me say those words. Something is triggering me to say back to you, hi, Kimberly, I really miss you too. And I wish I'd been there at the Mexican restaurant to eat with you. I was there. I was hanging around. I'm an angel in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I am. I'm an angel in your pocket.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And regardless of what, a person's beliefs are, there's one thing that I learned from my mom have to do with spirituality and just being closer to God or your faith. And that is, she said, we might not all agree on the way we experience our faith, but you should do your faith, or you should do the things that make you feel closer to yourself, closer to God, whatever makes you feel loved, whatever gives you the comfort, gives you the joy. That's what's right for you.
Yes, exactly. And it's interesting that you said you were Christian, because my book, Noel's Ark, was #1 bestseller in 6 Christian categories.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a book about redemption, and it's a Christian arc novel, essentially. And there are a lot of Christ's teachings in my books. Without knowing that's what I was doing, that's what they picked up on, because it's a story of redemption. And so right away, it takes you into the Christian realm. So 6 out of 10 categories were Christian, different Christian, Christian sacraments, Christian this, Christian that. It was really fascinating. And screenwriting was also #1 in screenwriting.
Wow. Yeah, it's just amazing how much we can, hear from God or get that inspired word just when we open our hearts and be open to listen. And then, in your case, and this helps me too, I journal also, is that when I listen, sometimes it gets stuck in my head. But if I put a pen in my hand and I start writing, even though I don't even realize I'm not even sure if I'm the one writing it.
Exactly.
I'm moving my hand and I'm writing, but those words are coming from somewhere outside of me. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's what when they say God is in the ink, or the computer, as it were. And that's what they call channeling. So you can call it channeling, or you can just say, hey, I'm really creative. I have a really creative mind, and look what's coming out of me. When I read my books now, I can't believe that I wrote them. And my screenplays, oh my God, 12 of them. I can't believe that I wrote them all. And they're good. I mean, when I read them, I think this is really good. This is good. This deserves to be on.
Good. Wow.
Yeah, really. Noel's Ark deserves to be a movie, it deserves to be a movie. And Catherine Ross deserves to be Olio. She would be a wonderful Olio. So I'm trying to manifest it. And so that's what I'm trying to do. And it's funny, people are doing, I'm sure you've heard of TED Talks.
Yes.
So it was suggested to me to do a TED Talk about this angel writing thing. And I felt really uncomfortable. I haven't pursued it. I started to pursue it. But when I found out what the nuts and bolts of it were, I felt very uncomfortable going out on a TED Talk and trying to talk about angels. It just seemed to me as though people were going to think that I was just a crazy old lady. And part of me wants to say, well, that's okay. Let them think that. So that's sort of on the back burner for me, where it's good for me to come on podcasts like this and just talk about what it is that it really means to me, and that it can help other people as well. I mean, anybody that does it, they're dumbfounded. And it's such a simple thing. There's a couple, a man and a wife back east who actually do workshops where they have, 10 or 12 people sitting around a table, and all of them have lost a loved one, and they all sit and write letters to them. And then they read them from a microphone, and everybody cries and everybody gets goosebumps because it's such a remarkable experience. We're tapping into another vibrational place.
Yeah. And I was thinking about all the things you went through during that decade of that quite dark decade.
Yes.
Where you were asking for help.
Very dark.
And there are people who are in that right now. I know there's a lot of people in that right now who have lost people. And they might be where you were, just almost helpless or asking for help. So how did you actually pull yourself out of that? Did you actually do the therapy to pull yourself out, or were there things, self-care things that you did every day to help yourself?
I think that just going for, I was drinking a lot. My significant other was a full-blown alcoholic, really bad. and he died when he was only 56. So I was 45, and I had learned to drink from him. I learned how, but I never liked the way it tasted, and I never liked the way it felt after being drunk. You know, like I would get a stomach ache, and it just didn't work for me. I would throw up. But after he died, I tried really, really hard to drink better. And it didn't work. It just made it worse, because it's actually a depressant is what it is. So what happened was, in the middle of the night, I was drunk, and I called a very old friend of ours to tell him that my Jimmy had passed away. And he knew I was drunk, because it was like, 3:00 in the morning. And so he asked me when Jimmy had passed. And I said, oh, about 1.5 years ago. And he said, 1.5 years ago? Why did it take you so long to call me? Why? And I said, well, you kind of disappeared from our lives the last 10 years that he was alive. And so you were like a really old friend from a different era.
Mhm.
And because he was only 56 when he died, I was embarrassed. It was sort of like he died on my watch,
Mm.
and I couldn't do anything to fix him. I failed. And it turns out that the reason he was not around for the last decade was that he had gone to AA. And in AA, they tell you when you first start that you have to change your playground. You can no longer hang out and play with the people that are drinking all the time.
Mhm.
You have to get a new network of friends that are sober. So it meant leaving behind myself and Jimmy for this friend of ours.
Mhm.
And so he just kind of disappeared, and we never knew what happened. Like we didn't outreach him, because we figured, well, if he wants us, he'll call us, And then before you know it, a decade goes by, and my sweetheart dies. And I held on for a whole nother 1.5 years of drinking and calling people in the middle of the night and just being suicidal and waiting for my dog to die. I was collecting pills in a baggie, big gallon baggie. I was collecting pills from my dog pills, if the dog hurt herself, and they would give her Rimadyl, which is a muscle relaxer. So I figured if I took that whole bag of pills, it would probably do the trick. And I was just waiting for my dog to die. And she died, and I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready. I thought I would be ready, but I wasn't ready. And even though I was having all those nightmares and stuff, I just hung on for another 1.5 years. And then my friend Evan was my Eskimo. They call them Eskimos because you come in from the cold. And he brought me into AA. So that was something that I could do on a daily basis. I could find a sponsor. I could work the steps. You make outreach calls, you make new friends, you go to meetings every day. You can go to more than one meeting if you want. And you can make that your life if you didn't have one to begin with. And even if you have a life that's, usually people who have hit bottom are the ones that go to AA, the ones that have hit bottom, where their family is ready to throw them out, and they're tired of all the orders them to go. So I was just lucky that a very old friend was gracious enough to invite me in. And that's part of it. AA, it's the 12th step, is that you help, you pass the word.
Mhm.
And so you bring people in, and they're called newbies.
Mhm.
And if you have 5 days of sobriety and they have 1 day, then you can help them, because you've got 4 more days than they do. And so you can help them. And when you can help somebody, you start to feel important. You start to feel adequate. You start to feel like you're enough. And what I do with my patients, I give them the lucky number 7. And what that is, I call it the lucky number 7. There's 7 things that if you do them in the day, all 7 of them, that you have to bake the cake and do all 7 of them. And if you do all 7 of them in one day, you end up having a great day. Now, there's some days you can't do them all, but this is the formula is the first one is physical exercise for at least 20 minutes. Second one is meditating twice a day for hopefully 20 minutes each time, once in the morning and once at night. And the nighttime one you can do in bed, under the covers, ready to go to sleep. And if it puts you to sleep, great. And if you wake up in the middle of the night, turn it on again. So we've got physical exercise, meditation, and then third are the positive affirmations. I'm okay. I can take care of myself no matter what. I am enough. That's a big one. Most people don't feel like they're enough to handle whatever it is that life is going to throw at them. They don't feel like they can take care of themselves no matter what. And they definitely don't feel okay. So these are things that we have to tell ourselves, all of the I am statements, so that we start to believe them. And they make new neural pathways in our brain when we say them over and over and over again. So you say them throughout the day, as many times as you can remember. And then the fourth thing is journaling. And you keep a journal that is a gratitude journal. And it's a feelings journal. So when you're angry, happy, sad, frightened, whatever it is, you put it in the journal, you get it out of your head and onto the paper. And it suddenly you feel so much lighter, so much lighter. And this is the same idea with writing to the people that you love that have passed. Once you write them letters, your grief lifts a little bit. You don't feel so down. You start to feel, you lift a little bit, just a little bit. And that's enough, because then the next day you lift a little bit more. So we've got physical exercise, meditation, positive affirmations, and journaling. And also when you're journaling, you can write your positive affirmations in the journal 10 times each, just like I had to do with my spelling words. You write, I'm okay, I'm okay, I'm okay. And you do it 10 times. And then you say it in front of a mirror, you say it to yourself and you start to believe it. And I got goosebumps as I'm saying this because it worked for me. It worked for me. And if it works for me, it can work for other people. And I do it with my patients because I have a private practice and they do feel different. They feel great. Okay, the last 3 things are really easy. Smile every day. Force yourself to smile no matter how depressed you are. Force yourself to smile and force yourself to laugh. Humor, laughing is the best healer. Laughter is the best healer. So watch a funny movie, watch a silly comedy on a TV comedy, situation comedy, whatever. Call somebody and have them tell you a joke. Just do something that's going to make you laugh every day, even if it's just for like less than a minute. And then the last thing is to be kind. Do something kind, mindfully kind, either for yourself or for somebody else. It can be for yourself. Like if, for example, you could take a bath and listen to while you're in the bath, you can listen to one of those guided meditations. That's a very nurturing thing to do for yourself. Or a long hot shower if you're not into baths. I love the shower. I get a lot of information in the shower. A lot of people talk to me when I'm in the shower.
Because it's really hard to write when you're in the shower.
I know, but
Where do you put all that while you're in the shower?
I just talk to them in my mind now. I just talk to them in my mind. And so I don't need to write anymore. But I do, I shouldn't say that I don't need to write anymore because I still keep a journal. And the thing of it is that you replenish your energy when you do all these things. That's what you get. You replenish your energy. And that's what we need. We need nourishment. Our heart needs nourishment.
Yeah.
So that's the lucky number 7.
Yes. I love that. And that is so wonderful. So, if anyone listening is going through a difficult time, boy, that's a good place to start. And then, the other thing is always reach out, even when you don't feel like it. Always reach
Right.
out.
That's what, for the laughter, the smiling and the laughter, reach out to other people. And all you have to do is get up and take a walk around the block. That's all. Just get up, just do it. Just do it. Just get up and take a walk around the block.
Mhm.
And the guided meditations are on YouTube. They're free. I love the Honest Guys. The Honest Guys have a bunch of videos for anxiety and depression and sleep and negativity. It's great, great stuff.
Yeah. I mean, YouTube, I'm so thankful for YouTube. There are
Oh
so
my
many
God.
great meditations on there and hypnotherapy and different things that can actually change your state quite quickly.
Absolutely. You can be hypnotized through YouTube. I've been hypnotized through YouTube. There's a wonderful hypnotist and therapist called Marissa Peer. I don't know if you've heard of her, but she is, that's where I learned about being enough. I learned about being enough from her. And she can put a whole room under hypnosis, and it's on YouTube. So if you're watching and she's hypnotizing, it happened to me. I got hypnotized. It was very cool. I felt so good afterward. It was remarkable. I think YouTube is like the best university to come along. You can ask any question and somebody will have made a video about it.
Mhm. Yes, it really is wonderful. So now you have a book coming out like in 10 days.
Yeah, 10
Why
days.
don't you talk about
August.
that book?
Okay. Well, actually, that's the experiential journal. That is called The Adventures with the Angel Olio, as opposed to The Adventures of the Angel Olio. And it's adventures with, because you're writing to angels and you're writing to the people that have passed. So in the beginning, I have a few pages where I give them an introduction. And then I wrote an essay that's called We Are Right Here, WRITE. We Are Right Here. And it's an essay about writing to them. And, it doesn't have to be loved ones. You can write a letter to Ernest Hemingway. You can write a letter to Marilyn Monroe. You can write a letter to anybody you want who's passed. And, in regular therapy, it's often recommended that you write a letter to the person that you think has hurt you, to get it all out on paper because you're afraid to say it to the person directly. And it sometimes gives you the courage to say it directly. But oftentimes letter writing is used. This is not anything new. I don't even know that it's original, but it was original to me. I had never done it before. So it was original to me and I wanted to share it.
Yeah. And I just want to encourage people too. I have friends who are non-readers, non-writers, actually quite a few. You'd be surprised the number of people. I was talking to someone else on a podcast about the reading and writing, and you'd be surprised of the people in high places even who don't know how to read or write, and you wouldn't know it because they're successful. So for those people who don't read and don't write, there's nothing wrong with just, you can say it into a recorder. You can just say it into the air. You can just, you can do it in another way. If you're an artist, you can journal with pictures. You can draw it out. There's so many ways to actually take it out. You could do an abstract painting. It doesn't matter as long as you're taking out the words in some form and putting them out there.
Right. And you can talk to them in your mind. So you don't have to be able to read or write. You can talk to them in your mind and then just listen.
Mhm.
Just listen and hear what they're saying. And a lot of it'll be, you'll know already. You know, they're just telling you stuff that you need to hear. So you don't have to read and write. And it's what you're saying is true. One of my patients just today told me that her father does not read and write. And so he never learned how. I don't know whether he was ADD or what the deal was, but he can't read or write. So he can't use the computer. So he can't read on his phone. You know how everybody's consumed with their phones and with their computers. He can't do that. He can't do that. So he has to live almost an entirely different life than the rest of us. He has to find his joy in other places. And in this day and age, if you can't read and write, wow, you're really at a disadvantage.
Mhm.
I would encourage everybody to learn how to read and write. And it's possible. If they have tons of literacy programs in the country.
Yes, they do. Yes, they do.
So don't be embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed that you can't read and write. My Jimmy, who died, he didn't learn how to read until he was 16 years old. And he was in a juvenile hall, and they had nothing else to do but read. And so he learned how to read the book Black Beauty with a dictionary sitting right next to him. And he looked up the words, and the teacher in the detention hall taught him how to read. And he was 16, didn't know how to read until he was 16. And he ended up being a doctor in psychology. He was a neuropsychologist. He understood the brain, which I do not, but he understood the brain. And so he went from not knowing how to read and write until he was 16 to becoming a neuropsychologist. That's pretty amazing.
That is really
That's a hell of an arc
so
in one
that's
lifetime.
really encouraging and inspiring.
Yes,
Really
absolutely.
inspiring. So, and then you're working on another book. I call it the dog book, but tell me the official title and what it's about.
Okay, the official title is The Dog Bible for Humans. The Dog Bible for Humans. And I love dogs. I just love them. And they give you unconditional love in so many different ways. And I don't know when, it was probably about when I moved, shortly after I moved in here, I found a list of things that dogs do. If you live like a dog, this is what you would do. And it's stuff like, when your loved one comes home, run to greet them. You know, when your loved one is unhappy, just sit nearby and nuzzle if necessary. And don't bite when a growl will do. You know, and that's for our anger. We just cool it a little bit. We don't have to be so angry. We can chill a little bit. So I have this whole list. There's like 23 of them of what you would do if you were a dog. And so, and then the rest of the book are essays that I've written over the years that I never did anything with. Things that I started, you know, essays that I wrote. And so the subtitle of the book is, it's a story of experience, strength, and hope. And I use that subtitle because that's what we use in a. They want you to share your experience, your strength, and your hope. And that's the only thing that you can offer people. That's the best that you can offer. So the beginning of my book is how dogs, I think in a parallel universe, there's a dog planet. And I think that I have it that they're the ones that caused the Big Bang on the dog planet. So that's the beginning of the book. And then there's the dog rules. And then I write my life story. sort of like what I told you today, but an expanded version. So that's my experience. And then my strength, I'm not quite sure yet how I'm gonna fill that in. But my hope, because I'm a therapist, this COVID thing, I'm doing everything online. And I realized as I was typing things to people, sending emails and doing all that, this was all advice that could go into a book.
Mhm.
So I started copying and pasting things that I thought would be valuable to lots of people. And so the last part of the book is going to be Dear Dr. Audrey, and all of the questions and the answers. And that'll be the hope. So I think the experience and the strength, it's just going to be, the experience is what happened to me. And then the strength is what I did to overcome it.
Mhm.
I think so. So when I'm telling my story, the experience and the strength are kind of be a little bit intertwined, and I just have to sort of figure out how to separate them so that in chapters there can be an experience chapter, a strength chapter, and a hope chapter.
Mhm.
Doesn't have to be a long book, because the real Bible is pretty thick because it's got the Old Testament and the New Testament.
Mhm.
So this is sort of an addendum. This is an addendum to the real Bible, showing people how to live a different way than they're used to. So, and that's what it's about.
Yeah. And it sounds like a legacy piece for you, really. It's like
Yes.
putting it all together and then tying it with a bow. Here I am. Here's my work kind of all wrapped up for you.
Yeah. And I'm 67 years old. So it would be it gives me goosebumps. If I can finish this book and publish it, I'll be a very happy camper.
Mhm.
I'm already a happy camper, but I'll be even happier.
Yeah. Yeah. So if people wanted to work with you or contact you, why don't you let us know where they can contact you, and also what services you have available, where they can find your books. Just kind of go through the list of those things.
Okay, well, it's pretty simple. My website is audreylevy.com. So that's very simple, audreylevy.com. And all of my books are on my website, and they can all also be bought at Amazon. So if you go onto Amazon and into the search bar and you just type Audrey Levy, that's all you have to do is type Audrey Levy, and all my books come up. And they can all be purchased on Amazon. And all of the profits from the Noel's Ark ebooks, I'm donating that to NAMI, which is the National Alliance for the Mentally Ill. Because Olio is an angel who works with families that have mental illness in the family. So I want that book in particular. I want the funds to go to NAMI.
Mhm.
So they can just go online to audreylevy.com, or they can go on to Amazon and just type in Audrey Levy. And that's how they find me.
Okay, great. So just a personal question now. What
Uh-huh.
gives you the most happiness and fulfillment in your life at this point?
Well, I love movies, and that's what soothes me. It soothes the savage beast in me. So I watch a lot of movies, and also I have a ferret, a little ferret, and I had her and her brother, and I had to euthanize her brother in May. So now it's just the two of us, the two girls. And she brings me an enormous amount of joy and amusement. So her and movies. And I like walking. I walk pretty much every day. And what I do is I combine my meditation with my walking at night in the morning.
Mhm.
And then I do it at night in bed. So it sets me up for the day. I try and walk as early in the day as I can. And so it sets me up for the day. And I listen to Abraham Hicks. I'm not sure whether or not you've ever heard of Abraham Hicks, but Abraham talks a lot about non-physical beings and how they're all in the vortex. And that's what I imagine, this huge, big sponge, this huge, it's, you know, it's a vortex, it's a swirling thing. And that's what this is all around us. That's why there's wind and the air is always moving. You know, on my houseboat, I'm always moving. The water is always moving. It never stops, ever, ever, ever. It never stops. And so that's part of that swirl. That's part of that sponge. That's part of where we come from. So I love listening to Abraham Hicks because I firmly believe in what she's saying is to be the truth for me. And so that brings me joy. I laugh out loud at her sometimes. Sometimes she's very funny.
Yeah, she can be really funny.
Yes, she can be very funny.
Yeah.
So I listen to Abraham Hicks, and I write my books. I don't know. I work a lot. I'm not a workaholic, but I do work a lot. I really enjoy my work a lot. And because I don't have a lover, I don't have a boyfriend. So I'm not taking, if I work at night, I'm not taking anything away from anybody. So I either watch movies or write or play with my ferret or take a walk. And now that the movies are opening up again, I can't wait to start going. I haven't gone yet, but I'm thinking about going to see Aretha. I think that'll be great.
Oh, that sounds awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the podcast today and for sharing your stories and your heart and your books. It's just been just a wonderful conversation.
Thank you so much, Kimberly. I really enjoyed it myself. And I thank you so much for letting me just go on and share what I want to share. And I don't feel uncomfortable or anything. You're a wonderful host.
Well, thank you. And I have one last question before we complete.
Sure.
What is your best advice on living an incredible, amazing life?
Wow. I would say to love yourself first. If you can do that, then I've got goosebumps, so that must be it. When you can love yourself, you radiate love. It comes off of you in waves. So you're smiling because you love yourself. And you're smiling because you've done all those 7 things and you feel great. Even if you haven't done all 7, even if you've only done partial, if you know that you love yourself, then you can radiate love and people will be attracted to you and you can help those people or fall in love with those people, either one. But you help each other. Even if you fall in love, you help each other. So I would say to love yourself is number 1 on the list.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so wonderful having you today. And I just wanted to say that my purpose in broadcasting Incredible Life Creator is to inspire you to live a happier, healthier, and more prosperous life. In doing so, you influence and inspire those around you who do the same. There are 6 ways you can assist me to influence more people on this planet of ours. If there is a topic or person you would like to hear from, please let me know in the comments on my YouTube channel, Incredible Life Creator. If you are a global influencer, trailblazer, cutting edge visionary, empowered entrepreneur, and would like to be interviewed, then fill in the application form and let's arrange a 1-hour, no obligation, free consultation session to see what could be possible. If you are interested in launching your own podcast show to grow your influence, then let's talk. If you know of anyone who is looking for a standout keynote speaker, then I am now offering keynote speaking as a new service, offering focused on leading and living an incredible life. I would value introductions to conference organizations, human resource VPs, keynote speaking bureaus, agents who specialize in booking keynote speakers. I am also interested in being booked as a guest on high-profile shows nationally and internationally. So if you know of any booking agents who are wanting new, innovative, and interesting guests for their upcoming shows, then I will be available for guest appearances. And last but not least, as most of you know, I am a doctor of behavioral optometry, spanning 3 decades. In September of this year, I'm excited to officially announce that I will be launching a global venture passion project. Then I will be available for project, and I've been working for months, called Optic Brain Fit, which is like CrossFit for your brain. It's a new technology which combines vision, brain, and movement simultaneously. It can be used for rehabilitation, enhancement, and maintenance of a person's physical, mental, and emotional functioning ability. It can be used in a wide variety of demographics, from special needs to children, to athletes, to adults, to executives, to the elderly. The technology works on a gradient, allowing each participant to be progressing and learning, beginning at a level that is doable and increasing the grade as the person increases in their abilities. It can be used with nonverbal, low vision, and low functioning individuals, as well as elite athletes and high-level C-suite executives and intellectual geniuses. I'm excited to share more about this project in the coming months, but wanted to let you, my valued network, know that I too am championing my dreams and doing what it takes to live and lead an incredible life. If this piques interest and you wish to know more about this passion project, then message me direct. I would love for you to subscribe, like, comment, share, and listen to help me spread love and positivity in the world. For more information, make sure you check out my website, drkimberleylinert.com, and follow me on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Instagram. Thank you so much for listening. And if you're interested in any of those things, please let me know. And until then, live your incredible life. Thank you, Audrey.
Oh, thank you, Kimberly. This was wonderful. I had a lot of fun.
All right, we'll talk to you again soon.
Okay, bye-bye.